Presently here in bed. Yeah, yeah. I know it's a bit kind of like naked there, isn't it? I know how that must make someone feel. So okay, I'll do this. But hey, you know, what's the big deal? You go down to the blimmin' beach, you see people like this. So hey, deal with it. Well, just as I have to deal with it, or anyone else has to deal with it. Now, what am I talking about? Obviously, it's in the title of the video. Tinnitus. Oh yeah, I woke up and it's at a slightly higher level. Not I would say ultra high level because um, it's not often that I would even put on headphones when I don't hear it. And if I use REM to simulate the how do you call it, the what's the word, the the kind of tonal signature of it, because it sounds like narrowband white noise or narrowband pink noise, and you can use the REM to set pink noise, white noise, whatever, and you dial the frequency very high. Roughly, they say roughly it's going to be around this sort of range, sort of thing, with other uh, people that are being documented. And so I would put it between maybe a 5 to maybe possible 9 kilohertz range, and that's very narrow range. And then you can sort of narrow it a little bit more. You can only go so far. You can't say, look, put REM at 8 kilohertz and 8 kilohertz. It would always shift the other frequency up a little bit, a couple of cycles. But you could roughly, and then put on the headphones, closed headphones, and then gradually have the AVR playing at a very low level, tone it right down, and then just gradually, steadily turn it up until you can just audibly hear the tone coming in, or be whether it's a sine wave tone, because sometimes they say we hear sounds. All sounds are made up of a series of sine wave tones. That if that's the case, then it's sort of it's sort of such complexities, because the of it. Well, they say that's how we usually hear and listen music. It's kind of like a series of very sliced, very narrow. I mean, teeny narrow frequency sine waves, and how they all play as a rhythm to make the tone, the instrument, that every single instrument. And you kind of see sometimes, as well as when listening, and when you see it on RTA and you see it in FFT, yeah, there is a sort of similarity. My tinnitus level at the moment, I would say, if they say go from 0 and then 10 dB, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. 80 is loud, but no, it's not 80 dB. It's hard to say because it's in the ear, and the mind is receiving the signal. So something is triggered off the TX, which is my ears, the TX, or rather, they could be the RX. Now you think, what the bloody hell am I talking about? TX is like, in simple things for CB radio, TX is transmit, RX is receive. So even though the ear is like a microphone, and then it goes, because you got the ear membrane, you got the little bones on there, and then it goes down to the cochlea, and it's a little bit, it's so tiny, and then you got all nerve impulses and that sort of coming up to our noodle, whereas, you know, of course I'm thinking all this because I've done research, I've done the reading, blah 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 blah. So yeah, I can, you know, anyway. So somewhere there, the signal is being received, and it can't be in my head. If it's in my head, then why am I hearing it? But it's in an ear, meaning, in other words, it's like inner ear, meaning you can have an room EQ wizard, REM, okay? Everyone knows what I'm talking about if I say REW, for fuck's sake. God, because now I'm starting to lose my fucking patience because there's so many fucking idiots around today. It's like having REM, and without playing the sine wave tone out from the loudspeaker, you got the loudspeaker on mute, but you can see the signals there, boom, on the RTA analyzer. I could do quite a few things on my cinema system. I can have the signal there, but I don't necessarily have to have the sound actually playing out the loudspeaker. I could do many things, and it's like, see, you know, boom, the signal's there, sort of thing. And that's like kind of saying that's inner ear. So it's like someone could be very near to me, I can't hear it. That's because it's so far down inside the, you know, the where the, you know, the cochlea or such is, and there's the cells or such, you know, have been exposed to fucking sensurround in 1979 at fucking 120 fucking dB. If not, some said possibly some sensurround systems were doing 130 dB. Oh god, fuck's sake! If I knew all this back then, I would have put my fingers up to my ears to keep back some of the sound pressure level getting down into my ear canal to, you know, where everything's going to go over the limit. It's like, another way to explain this, it's like a capacitor that's completely knackered and it needs to be desoldered. You just can't do this with tinnitus. There's just no way around it. They haven't figured out yet, but I'm sure they get there one day. With maybe in the 24th century they'll have something Star Trek-y, whatever. But that's just a TV show, for crying out loud. It's a fictitious, fictional bloody show. But sometimes science fiction becomes reality because people dwell on it and try to make it reality. Yeah. Drinking orange juice, maybe vitamin C, maybe it might just... it might give it some temporal relief. The only other relief is just counting sheep. That's all you could do, is just count sheep, get some sleep. Meh. And then you shut off, because then you're not aware. It's kind of loud as it is at the moment, and I think, I've had a nap. I've had a bit of a nap. And then I kind of woke up and then thought, oh, crikey. First thing I noticed, all this. But here's the thing. If I kind of do that, if I had a microphone nearby, and maybe a microphone nearby here, a microphone here, at a certain distance, balance the levels on the mixer and such. If I go a bit louder, that sound that because my ears are receiving and because it's inner ear, that sound I just did, where the tinnitus level's kind of that level, and then I make a sound, it's up there, that level sort of thing. So that's called frequency masking effect. It's like every time you hear sound effects or sound or what in music, movies, blah blah blah, people think they're bloody gold in there and all this nonsense. There's been naughty kitty cat. So we kind of so where was I? Because I got bloody distracted because my cat bear's jumping on top of the shrine, my shrine over here. There's a shrine, so it's out of bounds. Nobody touches that except me. So yeah, it's like audio frequency, and you got all these people think, yeah, bloody claim the bloody gold in there and all that, for Christ's sake. I can still hear high frequencies above the noise, the inner ear. Now it's like walking around with like earbuds in your ear, and if you got those playing at a very soft sound pressure level, most people, sometimes you walk around, you can hear them out in the blooming street. And the street level is roughly about average 90 dB. And you got people walking around with these blooming things, and I can hear walking past someone, and it's going. I can hear that on the top end of the music. Of course, when it's coupled to their ear, you can hear the bass notes, etc. When you got headphones and you gradually decouple it away, the bass range drops away, right? Some part of the middle range, you might still hear it, but some of the top high frequency end, that would also fall away, sort of thing. Most people wouldn't know what I'm talking about. Most other people wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about, because you haven't got a clue, because you haven't done the test. So it's kind of like that, and I'm thinking, crikey, someone's playing bloody music that bloody loud, and I can hear it amongst the street level sound, and that music going, you know, it's easily going to be louder than the 90 dB that's around with measuring an SPL meter. It's going to be well over the limit, and they're going to risk themselves getting tinnitus. They only have to take it up just a little bit more, and it only has to happen that, curious, what frequency range really of the sound pressure triggers off the tinnitus. Now, Battlestar Galactica was random sound effects along with the sensurround rumble effect, and that really was very high sound pressure level in the cinema auditorium. I kid you not, most people think they've heard bass in a bloody home theatre, or bass whatever in an IMAX. Oh God, IMAX doesn't even come near or close. This thing just woof. It pressurized. Got bare air again. I wonder also if animals can get tinnitus, and what their threshold is, because threshold of pain is roughly, they say, 120, 130 dB. So yeah, if sensurround was pushing those sort of levels, and I read part of a manual of the sensurround, it was on eBay many years ago, and I read the first page or such, introduction and all that. I thought, this would be, yeah, I'd like to win this manual to give it a read, but someone outbid, or I totally forgot about it, and someone won it, but I think they won it very cheap. But it said about the sensurround 120 this, blah blah this, it shouldn't cause any hearing damage. That's a load of bullshit. You know, depending on where you might be placed in an auditorium, right? And unknowing to most people, even back then with science and such, standing waves, sine waves, frequency waves, where they're more propagated, what peak levels in part of the auditorium, and duration of the movie, has every seat in the auditorium had a microphone placed where it's going to actual RTA recorders where they're recording every part. I would believe that even with Dolby Labs and all their bullshit Atmos shit crap around today and all this other shit, you know, with all the bloody with all the bloody money they got, you'd think, it's easy. They could put microphones in every single part of the bloody seats of that auditorium, run the frequency suite, literally, and then you'd have a graph of literally simultaneously, you'd be able to say, boom, all these, otherwise moving the microphone around seat to seat to seat to seat to seat to seat. You know, that's going to take a while, but you could just set everything all up and then everything goes into a main huge recorder, and it's going to do this amount of seats all simultaneous, and you do the sweep, and then you'll be able to see what seats are going to have what sound pressure levels. Anyway, I'm finished with this. That's another food for thought by documenting and everything. And I've got my cat bear going bonkers because I'm talking, so that's that.